Sunday section of the lesson, it says we must read Proverbs 21 verse 6 from the New International Version says, "A fortune made by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a deadly snare." So whatever we get by lying won't last. It says, think about the story of Ahab and Naboth's vineyard. Reflect on the following questions. Have I ever wanted something so badly only to be disappointed when I got it? What does this teach me about materialism? Jezebel was a very destructive influence in Ahab's life. Do I have anyone in my life who is leading me into destruction? How would God have me deal with these influences in my life? So to get a better understanding of this, we need to go into the story and see what the story is about. Sometime later, there was an incident involving a vineyard belonging to Naboth, the Jezreelite. The vineyard was in Jezreel, close to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Ahab said to Naboth, "Let me have your vineyard to use for a vegetable garden, since it is close to my palace. In exchange, I will give you a better vineyard, or if you prefer, I will pay you whatever it is worth." But Naboth replied, "The Lord forbid I should give you the inheritance of my ancestors." So Ahab went home, sullen and angry because Naboth the Jezreelite had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my ancestors." He lay on his bed, sulking, and refused to eat. His wife Jezebel came in and asked him, "Why are you so sullen? Why won't you eat?" He answered her, "Because I said to Naboth the Jezreelite, 'Sell me your vineyard, or if you prefer, I will give you another vineyard in its place.' But he said, 'I will not give you my vineyard.'" Jezebel, his wife, said, "Is this how you act as the king over Israel? Get up and eat. Cheer up. I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, "Go down to meet Ahab the king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. He is now in Naboth's vineyard, where he has gone to take possession of it. Say to him, 'This is what the Lord says. Have you not murdered a man and seized his property?' Then say to him, 'This is what the Lord says. In the place where dogs licked up Naboth's blood, dogs will lick up your blood. Yes, yours.'" Then Jehu went to Jezreel. When Jezebel heard about it, she put on her eye makeup, arranged her hair, and looked out the window. As Jehu entered the gate, she asked, "Have you come in peace? You, Zimri, you murderer of your master?" He looked up at the window and called out, "Who is on my side?" "Who?" 2 or 3 eunuchs looked down at him. "Throw her down," Jehu said. So they threw her down, and some of her blood splattered the wall, and the horses as they trampled her underfoot. Jehu went in and ate and drank. "Take care of that cursed woman," he said, "and bury her, for she was a king's daughter." But when they went out to bury her, they found nothing except her skull and her feet and hands. So there's a little section of the story that we need to focus in on, and let's go to 1 Kings 21. So this is how Jezebel actually went about doing what she did. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, right, and placed his seal on them, okay, and sent them with the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city. Okay, so proclaim a day of fasting and seat Naboth in this prominent place, right? But seat 2 scoundrels opposite him and have them bring charges that he cursed both God and the king. Take him out and stone him to death. So the elders and nobles in Naboth's city did as Jezebel directed in the letters she had written to them. They proclaimed the fast, right? That's supposed to be a sacred event, right? They seated Naboth in a prominent place among the people. Sometimes people put you up only to tear you down. So be careful Not every appointment is from the Lord. All right. Then the two scoundrels came and sat opposite him, and they brought charges against Naboth before the people, saying, Naboth has cursed both God and the king. So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. And then they sent word to Jezebel that Naboth has been stoned. Now, watch this. As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, that he refused to sell you. He is no longer alive but dead. And when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he got up and went down to take possession of Naboth's vineyard. And then the word of the Lord came to him, and so on. This is how Ahab got Naboth's vineyard. It was not by a peaceful mean, was not by a transaction, where there was a fair exchange or anything like that. He was upset, and Jezebel took matters into her own hands and went out and got the vineyard by this wicked act. If it is that he was not party to it, when it is that Naboth died, if he was not with it, he would not have taken possession of it, but he wanted it. He really, really wanted it. Then afterwards, now we have the curse that is pronounced, right? He's saying that, okay, you murdered a man, you seized the property. And it says, I have found you, you have sold yourself to do evil. I'm going to bring disaster on you, wipe out your descendants, all the males, right? Whether they are slave or free. And it says here concerning Jezebel, um, the Lord says, dogs will devour Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Dogs will eat those belonging to Ahab who die in the field, and the birds, and all of that. Not wonderful things at all. Okay? So let us be reminded of these stories and pull from them the lessons we should. So going back to the questions now, what does the story of Ahab and Naboth teach us about selfishness? It can lead to our personal demise, destruction. So here it is that they thought they were just going to use their positions of power and get away with it. They were cursed because of it. Jezebel, in fact, died. The next question says, is service the best antidote for selfishness? Why or why not? Yes, service is, to an extent, to the extent that when you're serving someone else, the focus is not on you. However, there are people who do things for others because they want to be seen. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that. What was it about Jezebel that was most offensive to God? This is an interesting one. I think her heart was just in the wrong place. She had no focus on doing things that were to honor and please God. Do you think Jezebel's life exhibited the principle, whatsoever one sows, that will he also reap? Yes, this is just one of the things that we're hearing of with Naboth. There could have been many other things that would have been done. So we need to be careful, because whatsoever we plant, that we could also reap. How do you reconcile this story of God's harsh judgment against Jezebel with the loving nature of Christ? Why do you think God acts in judgment? Well, at the end of the day, there comes a point when the books have to be balanced, and you know you have to receive the punishment for what it is that you are doing, or what it is that you should have done. Based on this story, what would you identify as the highest value for Ahab, Naboth, Jezebel, Jehu? What can we learn from their story that might help to inform us about what we choose to value today? For Ahab, it would have been getting what he wants, that covetousness, that covetous spirit in him to seize what did not belong to him. For Naboth, it was the principle of not giving up ancestral land. And the king had no right really to ask for it, right? Because that's how it was supposed to be based on their traditions. Jezebel was all about power. How how could Naboth, this little Naboth, not honor the king, right? And Jehu was about justice. Right, so that brings us to the end of Sunday's lesson. Let's remember that materialism is not a good thing, and we should rid ourselves of destructive influences. Let's be careful of some of the things we see on social media, the lifestyle channels that help to promote the materialism, how we look, how we dress, the things that we have, and it's all about possession. What about character? Let's think about that.